Welcome to Uniquely Brilliant, a podcast for creative, quirky, and extraordinary thinkers of all ages and the people who love them. We encourage, inspire, and provide strategies to motivate you to embrace your unique brilliance and realize your potential for success. Hi, I'm Diana Bader, also known as Coach Di. I encourage teens and young adults to become who they are and develop personal success through self-awareness and positivity. You can find me at freshcanvascoaching.com, follow and like the Fresh Canvas Facebook page, or follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Di.
Hello there, I'm Becky Berry. I am a performance coach who helps people level up their lives by smoothing out the relationship between their work lives and their personal lives. You can find my website at beckyberrycoach.com. I'm on Twitter at Becky Berry Coach, and you can find me on my Facebook page, Becky Berry Coach.
Together we are here sharing our thoughts, insights, and experiences from our own uniquely brilliant perspective. All right, today is episode 88, and we're talking about essentialism.
Whoa, before we get started, 88.
I know.
12 away from the century mark. I can't believe it.
It's really weird that we've been doing this for this long.
November 1st, 2015. Because I had to look.
Yeah.
I had to look it up.
And it was one of those things that, we didn't really even start doing anything on it until...
Well, we only met in July.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It moved fast.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. We still appreciate it. And Greg listens every week, so...
Yes, absolutely.
He'll hear this.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so essentialism. This is your thing. This is... In the best way. This is your thing. It's one of the things I aspire to. So why don't you introduce the idea, where it came from, and then we'll take it from there.
Well, there's a book, Essentialism, by Greg McKeown, and I was given it as part of a business group I was in, and within the first couple chapters, I've mentioned this multiple times on the podcast,
and I still haven't bought it.
And within a few. I don't even know if I was even to the second chapter. I was like flipping out over everything I was going to change, and my whole view of things just kind of flipped upside down in a really good way. The subtitle is The Disciplined Pursuit of Less.
I love that subtitle.
Yeah.
I like disciplined. I like pursuit. It's something you're going after. And of course the less, who wouldn't like that?
Yeah. The discipline, if I focus on that too much, would probably give me hives. But
you do it. You do it in a disciplined way.
I do. Well, you know what?
We'll talk about that more, but you definitely do it in a disciplined way.
I prefer to look at it more as a focused than discipline, because discipline just, like I said, gives me hives. But yeah, I do. I mean, it's really become that important in my life, and I run a lot of what I do through the filter of essentialism. The basic principles or the basic theory behind essentialism is choosing what works best for you and letting the rest of it go. Because we tend to have a fallacy, and I am super guilty of this, that I have to do it all. Mm-hmm. Especially if I don't know of a resource and I'm struggling with a resource that can help me with something, I'll just take it on myself. Uh-huh. Because I've been very independent, and I've been, I know I have enough skills that I can learn it. Mm-hmm. It took me a while to realize that I don't have to be the one learning it.
Yeah. I'm running up against this right now. I need to do some work on my website. Mm-hmm. And before I just jump in and do it, I'm like, I just so don't want to do this. There are so many other things I should be doing. But my web designer's on maternity leave, so I have to do it. But it's listening to you talk about this that makes me even have that thought. Yeah. That even makes me think of priorities in a different way.
Well, and just I think as human beings, especially if you're very skilled, or you're like us where you're kind of a knowledge junkie and a learning junkie, it's hard to tell yourself, no, I don't have to learn about that. I'll pass this off. I'll delegate. That's just not really part of our nature. It's like, ooh, hold on. Especially if it's something of interest. Ooh, right. I'll learn about that. I can do that, even if I'm not going to be the best choice for it. And I have to remember that. That's one of the things that came out of this is, am I the best choice for this? Is this going to help me if I, study and learn this new thing for the next 6 weeks and to the point where I can probably pull this off? Or am I better off finding somebody who already knows it?
Well, and
turning it over.
Is it even taking you where you want to go?
Yeah.
In that 6 weeks, is it taking you where you want to go? Back to the website thing. Did I ask you this? I think I asked you this one. My website's in WordPress, as so many are. And I used to code websites by hand. So, this is a little different for me. And there's a great WordPress meetup in the area, et cetera, et cetera. And I went, should I go? And I went, no. I'm not going to that because I don't want to be a WordPress developer. I know I know as much as I need to know. And if I need to know a snip here and a snip there, there's this thing called Google and YouTube. And I'll go find it. But that it is seductive to think you have to know it all. But I guess I'm moving away from that. Well, it really chafes to think I need to know it.
Yeah.
Now, as opposed to, I need to, no, I don't want to know anything. I actually say that. I don't want to learn one more thing about this. I have actually said those words out loud to people. And I'm like, it's not what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And to come to that realization is huge. It's a big, huge step. I wish I'd had this book a lot earlier in my life than I
Which you
did.
also say every time, right?
I also do.
That's how powerful it is.
But the thing that I've realized is, because I recommend this book to everybody, all ages, whatever. And
one day I will read it.
But I realized that taking on this philosophy has I'm totally lost. Yeah, not really, but it's permeated like all of my life.
There we go. That's a word.
And my son the other day, my youngest son, is getting ready to be a senior, and he knows kind of what he wants to do, but there's not an exact major for it. And I have been trying to help him narrow that down.
Yeah.
And the hard part is it only semi-exists.
Right. Oh, we've talked about this.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
It only semi-exists. And so right now, even though the career opportunities for what he wants to do exist, the education for those opportunities,
that's a direct match.
Yeah, or even really very close, do not exist in many places. And if they do, they fall under different things. So he wants to do some stuff with computers, but it's not computer science. And most schools, this does not fall under a computer science major. So I've been playing around with that. And as I found something the other day, and I was showing him that, and I was explaining, he was reading through the definitions, and he's going, well, yeah, I don't learn this, but I don't do that. And his first thought is, yeah, but I can hire people to do that. And I'm like going, whoa, yay, and that to me was this essentialism thing. The first thought that came to his head is that he didn't have to learn it. He just had to learn what he wanted to learn, and other people would be learning what else he was going to be needing.
Right.
And he was cool with that. And I'm like, whoa, what a shift.
That's great. Well, I think we learn that we have to do everything.
Yes.
And I think he's going to he may skip that. I think the older you get, then the more that you do in the past, it was easier, it was easier to do that. So I always love for you to tell the first story you told me about essentialism, which would be cooking for your kids.
Oh, well.
Well, no. The first one is asking them.
Yeah. Because I was starting my business, and the first thing that jumped out at me from this essentialism book was, this prioritizing thing. And I was feeling very overwhelmed and like I couldn't be all these different people.
Yep.
And so I went directly to the source, which was my kids, and said, okay.
And how old were they when you did this?
They were in their early teens. Yeah, very early teens.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Case was still a teen. And I went to them and kind of told them about this book I was reading and said, okay, so I really want to pursue this entrepreneurial journey I'm on. But at the same time, you guys are my highest, most priority.
Yep.
So what do I need to do for you on a regular basis that's going to make you feel like you're my highest priority? And they had answers.
Yeah, that's going to make you feel like you're my highest priority. That is such not a parent thing to say.
Yeah.
And it's perfect.
Well, and
it's what we mean to do. But if we don't say it in that way, that is the essence of parenting. then we can't make it happen.
Yes, exactly.
We're guessing. We're assuming. Even worse, we're assuming.
And what was fun about their answers was that several of them meshed up, and I gave them the opportunity to each come up with 5. And several of them meshed up, and each of them had some of their own unique ones. And so on a weekly basis, I try to honor as many of those as I possibly can. Sometimes I get all of them.
You have to tell them. You have to tell the listening audience what they are, because they're really awesome.
Yeah, I have to try to remember them all, because now they're just become sort of ingrained in what we do. I mean, one of the ones they both agreed on, they wanted dinner, like cooked, home cooked meal more regularly. We had gotten off on this crazy schedule with activities and things, and so a lot of stuff was grab and go, and they wanted, at least 3 times a week to have a home cooked meal, and they're not even there all the time for that. But I'm like, okay, that I can easily do. I love to cook. That's not a big problem. And I took that a step further a few years later and had them write me out exactly what they like. So now I have a list of foods they both agree on.
Right.
That I rotate through, so I know that everybody will be happy. So it's not just any old home cooked meal, it's what they enjoy eating.
That's great.
And they agree they enjoy eating, which is really
makes shopping easy. It's just so much more efficient.
Well, and then shopping was another one, because I don't necessarily eat the same way they do all the time. So I take them, they wanted to go shopping and they wanted to pick out stuff. So I give them each a budget and take them shopping, and they
now,
go
was
buy.
that from Essentialism or was that from the list?
It's a little bit of both. That was on their list. That was one of the things they wanted to do, and then it evolved into everything else. But yeah, that was actually one of the things that both of them picked.
On their list of their 5 essential things.
Yep, their priority of 5.
Which is awesome, because that's them taking responsibility for a really important thing, which sets them up for the future. It
does, and it's been really interesting now as I'm preparing one to go to college, and actually both of them to go to college, and at the orientation, some of these things were talked about that students had never done, incoming students, and some of the meetings that we had the students in there. And my son told me afterwards, he's like, yeah, when they were talking about, laundry, when they were talking about shopping for yourself, I was looking at you. You better not have been clapping. I know how to do this stuff.
That's right.
I'm like, I said, I was actually saying how grateful I was that you do know how how to do this stuff.
Excuse me. You should have been patting yourself on the back that he knows how to do that. That's only one reason he knows that, is because you taught him.
Yeah. Well, and he wanted to,
but you taught him. I mean, there are plenty of kids who want to do it, but parents never even recognize it because they're so tied up and
they didn't ask.
Whatever. Yeah. Or they have a set way of doing things and they don't want it interrupted.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why their kids are at sea when they go to college.
Mm-hmm.
So pat yourself on the back, take some credit there. So that's So they know how to shop. They've identified, what a powerful thing for them to write down what it is they like to eat, because they had to think about that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So that's a powerful thing for them to bring that to a real conscious level instead of what do I like to eat? That kind of thing. I think that makes it easier to make it a priority.
Mm-hmm. And then that's part of, I think, the whole essence behind Essentialism is getting everybody on board.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't make things a priority if they don't know their priority, or they're not involved. I think it helps a whole lot more if they know where you're coming from and understands this kind of idea.
Well, that's why I think in the book he talks about this in the business setting too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably what he's talking about there. For me, it's not so important because it's just me. For me, for making sure other people know my priorities. In a business sense, it is.
Yeah.
But in a personal sense, it's a little different.
Yeah, but and that's the thing. This kind of philosophy permeates all areas of your life.
Right.
So, but even you still have family, and your family knows. Your family gets together for dinner on Monday nights.
Right.
But they also know you're running this business, so they know that
there are Monday nights I'm not there.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are Monday nights when I surprise them, like last night. I showed up. I was like, oh, I can make it.
Yep. So it all becomes that whole hierarchy of what's most important, but the most important thing is, if you only have that to focus on, then everything else you get to give away. You don't have to do it. It's that mind
switch. You can drop it or give it away.
Yeah.
Right? Because there are two choices there. You can just drop it. I've dropped a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Or you can give it away.
And being able to assess both those situations, is this something I really need? Is this something I really need in my life? Is this,
So you said by the time, maybe not even into the second chapter, but by the time you were in the first chapter, you already knew you were going to do this. Can you remember? Do you know what it was? Was there a methodology that he talked about for beginning to access this kind of thinking? Because, it's all well and good to read it.
Yeah.
But it's a whole nother thing to implement it. And then it's an entirely different thing to implement it at the level that you have, where, like it's core. It's a core concept for you. It's part of who you, it's not something that's separate from you. It's who you are now.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if there was something specific. I think for me, I was ready for the concept. I was open for the idea.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. When you were saying that about you wish you knew it earlier, I was like, you probably weren't ready for it. So it was kind of a just in time kind of thing.
Yeah, because there was a lot of new things going on at that time, and my mind was very much an open sponge. And this is one of the things that I took in that just really resonated with where I was at that time. And it's something that I've been able to identify in clients. If they are talking about this priority thing and they're just not quite grasping it and they're a little overwhelmed, I've sent this book to I don't know how many people at this point. And some as young as, just graduated from college that have picked it up and written me back and said, oh, wow, now I totally see my life in a whole nother way. I totally see my future in a whole nother way.
Yeah.
And they have started implementing bits and pieces into their life and incorporating that.
Cool.
Into both their personal life and their business life, and how they see themselves as business people, managers.
Well, their approach.
Yeah.
Their approach to life in general.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So in there,
yeah,
I'm just going to interview you about the book. Let's turn the tables on you.
Yeah, I haven't read it for a couple of years, but I've been living it.
Yeah, but you live it.
Yeah, but I live it. Yep.
So does he give you some hints on how to start doing it, how to access this way of thinking, or how does he do that?
There are all sorts of examples throughout the book.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, you've just got to be in that mindset to be open to, ready to hear them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to even remember how it was written. He tells a lot of stories. He gives a lot of examples. And, you kind of, when you have that kind of thing, you kind of put yourself in those places.
Right. Well, that's what the stories are for. So you can picture yourself in the same situation, right?
Exactly. And I think...
well, the thing about asking the boys, where did that come from? Is that part of what he says is ask other people what they need?
I don't even know if he directly said that. I just felt really compelled. And like an overwhelming sense of, hold on, before I go on with this, these two people, this is where my conflict has been, is the traditional theory on entrepreneurship is, working into the middle of the night and doing this, that, and the other thing. And that completely conflicted with my priority as being mom
model.
First.
Oh, come on. It's such a male model. No woman can do that because we got other things to do. We got to make sure we're doing that so the guys can go be entrepreneurs. Yeah. It's just so unbalanced.
Well, and being a single mom, it was like, okay, all there is me. And I think part of what resonated with me with this too was he gave me permission to pare down all the other stuff.
Whoa. Yeah. I love that. I love it. And because we do need permission to do that.
And that I did not have to do everything. And that from that, I created sort of a mental hierarchy. I didn't write it out, I don't believe, but I created this mental hierarchy that for the next X amount of years, my kids are my priority. Now, I already have it in my head, that things, I'm in a place now where things are about to shift.
Big time.
They're still a priority, but they're not the priority.
Oh, well, yeah, they're not going to be in your house anymore. So,
no, and they need to spread their wings and they need to go do their thing. But at the time, they were. And so it was really important for me to express to them that they knew that. Mm-hmm. And to get whatever it was information back from them so they would feel that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Another quote from the book is that it's about doing less but doing better. Mm-hmm. Because we have this fallacy, especially in the U.S., that, we can do everything.
That busy thing.
It's that busy thing, but it's also, that I must stay busy, but it's also that, nobody can do things as well as I can, or, we get that sort of, I don't even know what the word is, but, you just feel like you have to take it all on yourself, that, if you stop and pause, I'm going to have to teach them how to do this, and, this is going to be more of a problem.
It's that rugged individualist thing that's totally independent, which is such a crock.
Yeah.
It's so wrong.
It is, and I so subscribe to it forever and ever.
So limiting.
But if you do your best when it's focused work.
Right.
And if you have 10 things going on, you're juggling, most of the time a ball's going to drop.
Right.
And it's going to drop just because you have so many things going on. In Essentialism, you get to drop the balls and
you get to
decide,
throw them away. You get to throw them away.
And toss them out and decide which ones you feel like juggling.
Yeah.
And which ones you're best at juggling. Mm-hmm. That happens. And again, this has happened over and over with me with work, but I worked at a job where I did everything from grant writing to building tricycles. Mm-hmm. And every administrative and thing in between and around. And I could do it, but I didn't really have to. Mm-hmm. At the time I felt like I did, and everybody just, because I could do it, relied on me to do it.
Well, see, that's the problem. Mm-hmm. We'll get back to that.
No, let's go for it now, because that is a problem.
That is the problem. And, as a former teacher, there's no better example than teachers who, they won't take a day off because I have to write sub-plans, and that's hard. And listen, I coach on this, whether they like it or not. I coach on this one. I'm like, but then you have a day off. Mm-hmm. Then you have a day off. It's not all up to you. The thing that you need is rest. The thing you need is a break. So what if you have to write lesson plans? Then you walk out the door and you don't come back for a day or a two or whatever. But if you don't take the break, you can't refresh. And it's so frustrating to me. I'm like, ladies, because the guys will take a break. Ladies, seriously.
Well, I have a friend I found out about that I hadn't seen for a while. And he has this sort of belief that, he's indispensable. That's what a lot of it boils down to, is that we are indispensable.
And that feeds us. That mm-hmm. makes us feel important because we don't feel important otherwise.
But he has 6 months worth of vacation that he's never taken, that he's accumulated at his job. And he doesn't know what to do with that.
Well, it means, his productivity is for crap. For bad. Mm-hmm. His productivity is bad. The statistics on this, I just wrote about this. I just wrote about this 2 weeks ago in my blog post and pulled in some stats and some articles. It's insane. It's just it's a really insane way to live, because you are not as productive. Period. End of story.
Well, it's a false thinking thing. We talked about that in our mm-hmm. episode on vacation. You need mm-hmm. that time. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things with Essentialism is you embrace that. You mm-hmm. embrace a vacation for what a vacation's worth. You learn to be present on the vacation so you can be present at work, or you can be present at home.
If your priority is to be the best you can be at work, not taking a vacation is counterproductive.
Yeah, because you burn out.
Well, exactly. You burn out and you're not productive because you're like laser focused. And so you're missing opportunities because you're so busy. Mm. Not taking a vacation is about staying busy. It's not about doing productive work.
Oh yeah.
It's that busy thing again. And I believe that one of the things in the Essentialism book is it really is supposed to help you combat this idea that you have to be busy, which is, luckily for me, or maybe not, it's not something I'd subscribe to, because I'm really good at not doing anything. I don't know, maybe too good at it, but I am. But I know people who always have to be doing stuff.
Yeah, well, and I did a speech a few years ago on this because it's an epidemic with children. Mm-hmm. You know, parents have created busyness as a type of parenting.
Right. Well, excuse me. As a what for parenting? Are you saying a substitute for parenting? Oh my gosh. Do you think? It's so much easier to dump your kids on somebody else and let them be doing stuff than you being in charge of your children during that time.
Well, but what I love is you have that, but then you have the parents that are complaining that they're always busy with their kids' activities. And
they have no control.
Yeah. Like they don't see the correlation between the two.
Yeah, we have to take control. I did get a lot of looks with the limited things that Ken did. I was like, no. Mm-hmm. He's doing all these other things too. It's just he doesn't have to do it in a program fashion with other people.
Yeah.
And I was really adamant about that.
Well, and I actually felt really bad for my kids because they weren't scheduled every second of every day. And then they didn't have people to hang out with.
Right.
There was nobody around.
Well, see, Ken had the advantage of being in band. Mm-hmm. So that's the whole band and Boy Scouts. Two big things that, of course, got increasingly time-consuming. But that's what he wanted to do. He wasn't doing it for his resume. He was doing it because he loved music and he loved scouting. So, it's, again, busyness versus purposeful work. Mm-hmm. And it's just so critical at every level. And the sooner we can embrace it, the sooner that we can, our shoulders can drop. Because when you're working from your priorities, you just can relax.
Yes. Because
you're doing what you need to do.
Well, and it serves as a great filter as opportunities come, as invitations.
Oh, whatever. I love this. Right.
If do I do this? And instead of, stressing over it or whatever, does it fit in my priority list? Does it fit in the essential things in my life? If it doesn't, decline it. You just gave yourself permission to decline it.
Right.
And that's a really big load off of a lot of people's shoulders because a lot of people spend a lot of time fighting over these choices.
Well, and I think it's important to recognize signals because I've got this going on right now. I have said that I would help with this event this weekend, and they publicized it and stuff, and the people who are doing the stuff, my name's not on there. And I have somebody suddenly coming in from out of town, and I'm like, well, do I just back out of this? I'm like, well, they don't even care enough that I'm doing this, that they publicized my face with everybody else's, so why not? Mm-hmm. Because I'm not just doing it for the glory. That's not it. The point is, when somebody volunteers to do something, you pay attention.
Yeah.
And the person who's going to do what I was going to do hasn't been doing it nearly as long as I have, which is fine too. I learned stuff, but I just am like, so what do I do here? You don't want to back out of something you said you do, but they obviously don't value it that much. So
yeah,
at least if they do value it, they're not showing me they value it.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good life lesson too. I mean, take a look at cues, those external cues. Mm-hmm. You may feel like you're doing something that has immense value, but is it being received with the same value you're putting on it?
Right. Exactly. So I still have to figure that out, but
yeah, always a challenge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think we need to figure out our stamp of brilliance and come back. You said a lot of brilliant things, so this is going to be a hard one. All right. So hold on. We'll be right back.
Okay, our stamp of brilliance today is essentialism gives us permission to pare down all the other stuff.
I love it.
Yep, it does. I mean, sometimes you have to give yourself permission.
Mm-hmm. Just pare it down.
Yep. All right. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy the podcast, please share it with a friend. Also, take a minute to rate it and leave a review on iTunes. Check out our website at uniquelybrilliant.me. And sign up to have the podcast delivered directly to your inbox. Shoot any thoughts, comments, suggestions to us at uniquelybrilliant.me. And you can also reach out to us on our Facebook page. And don't forget to like us.
Until next time.